You know, in a battle between Hakeem Jeffries and Kristi Noem, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to take Kristi Noem every day of the week and twice on Sundays. What's up? You know, in a battle between Hakeem Jeffries and I hear myself talking, which isn't bad. I love the sound of my own voice, but I know you guys are good with just one Mark Kaye. What's up? This is Mark Kaye Saves the Republic, and man, I'm so excited. What a great day we have here. We have so much going on today. I sat down and I started editing up the clips and getting the clips together and getting all the news and information, and apparently the Democrats have just totally devolved into insanity. And it's bad for the country, but it's great for this show. It's bad for this country, but it's great for my social media, my Twitter, my X feed rather, because it's always jam-packed and chock full of really entertaining things that make me laugh. And the Democrats are just laughable. It's amazing. It's like every single day they're trying to outdo each other. We talked about this the other day. President Donald Trump has an administration. He has a cabinet. He's put together a group of people that are working so hard and so diligently to try and, one up each other. They're basically what they're doing is they are trying to figure out ways to make America great again. And what you have is let's just say you have Marco Rubio out there creating peace for the world. And then Scott Bessent goes, all right, well, I'll hold my beer. And then he goes, although I don't think he drinks beer. I think he's more like a cosmopolitan guy. But anyway, he goes, hold my beer. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, look at this. Look at what Scott Bessent just did. He went out and he just got billions of dollars from the Middle East. So it's like they're trying to one up each other. And every time they do something better, it's better for the United States of America. But on the Democrat side, you have the opposite happening. It's like you have Democrats going, how much more can I embarrass myself, my party, and my country? And then, Jasmine, well, first, I guess we'll start with AOC, who goes out there flying on private jets for a Fight Oligarch tour. And then Jasmine Crockett's like, oh, yeah, hold my beer. And then she goes out there and she says, F this, or punch Ted Cruz in the face, or, jumps in front of the line of handicapped people in wheelchairs, whatever it is she does, then to embarrass the party. And then LaMonica McIver's like, oh, y'all ain't seen nothing yet. And she goes and she roughs up and body slams and assaults ICE agents at a federal detention center because she demands entry to go make sure that her beloved gang members and illegal aliens are fine. She doesn't want the illegal aliens and gang members and criminal thugs to be mistreated by the government. So she goes in there and she mistreats the government. It doesn't really make any sense. Then on top of that, you got Hakeem Jeffries jumping into it and threatening not just ICE agents and federal law enforcement officials, but also President Trump's cabinet and members of Congress. Listen to his reaction yesterday to what happened at the Delaney Hall Detention Center with LaMonica McIver and a bunch of, I'm just going to start calling her the Monica because that's all. Just the Monica.
Your statement the other day after there was this incident in Newark, you said they better not touch our members.
Correct.
What happens if they were to go and arrest these members, or if they would try to sanction them here in the House of Representatives?
They'll find out.
What would you do, though?
They'll find out.
Recourse? But doesn't that broach a...
They'll find out.
Doesn't that go across...
That's a red line.
What's the red line, though? I know we have this...
It's a red line. It's very clear. First of all, I think that the so-called Homeland Security spokesperson is a joke. It's a joke. They know better than to go down that road, and it's been made loudly and abundantly clear to the Trump administration. We're not going to be intimidated by their tactics to try to force principled opposition from not standing up to their extremism. It hasn't happened during the entirety of this failed term. It didn't happen when Donald Trump temporarily was sitting high in the immediate aftermath of the election. Do you think it's going to happen now when he's the most unpopular president in American history after his first 100 days? Give me a break. No one's intimidated by this dude. No one. And so there are clear lines that they just dare not cross.
This guy's so frazzled, he has no idea what he's saying. This guy is not prepared for this line of questioning. He knows he has no recourse. There's nothing he can do. his Congress people, his caucus, Democrat Congress elected representatives, in the House of Representatives, they went to a prison. They didn't go with prior approval. They didn't go with some kind of planned tour. They didn't show up when they, called ahead and said, hey, we would like to tour the facility and make sure that it's living up to its standards. No, they showed up unannounced. They forced themselves through the gates. They trespassed illegally on federal property. They pushed and shoved and assaulted and body slammed ICE agents. And now Hakeem Jeffries is out there and he's trying to come up with some kind of explanation, and there ain't none. So he's just like, they'll find out. They'll find out. They'll find out. They'll find out.
It's my honor to announce.
Pardon me, that's not it. They'll find out.
Your statement the other day after there was the if they were to go and arrest these members or if they would try to sanction them here in the House of Representatives.
They'll find out.
What would you do?
They'll find out.
They'll find out. They'll find out. He has no clue. He has no clue. It's like when my kids were little, we used to do this 1, 2, 3 magic thing where you would tell your kids if they were misbehaving or acting up, whatever, you would start to count to 3 and you would say, I'm going to count to 1, which means settle down. I'm going to start to 2. I'm going to count to 2, which means danger. And if I get to 3, then you are in the most trouble you've ever been in. The worst thing you could ever imagine will happen to you. And so we trained our kids to do that. And then whenever they were acting up or not listening to us, we'd go 1 and they'd start to slow down. But then we'd go 2 and they would they would freeze, petrified with fear. They would run to their rooms. They would do whatever we were asking. And then one day when my kids were like 15, they looked at me, they go, hey, what would have happened if we got to 3? And I was like, I don't know. That was like the worst. I don't know. You never got to 3, so it worked, right? It's like this guy has no clue what's going to happen to Congress people or what's going to happen if the Congress people are arrested. They're going to find out. They're going to find out that you're powerless. They're going to find out that the laws have that if you break the law, there's repercussions and you're going to be arrested by Donald Trump's Department of Justice. What are we going to find out? That Donald Trump is the chief law enforcement officer in the country? Okay, I think we already know that. He's so frazzled. This is a guy who, and I feel bad for him because he thinks he's the leader of his party, but he's not. We all know it's AOC. But he's not the leader of the party in the eyes of the Democrats and the media, but he is the leader of the party in the eyes of party officials. So while all these crazy lunatics are out there busting up on police officers and cursing and making handicapped jokes about Greg Abbott and flying around on private jets, everyone goes to Hakeem Jeffries and goes, what are you doing, man? You can't keep your people under control. When Al Green gets up and starts shaking his cane in the middle of the address to Congress going, you ain't got no mandate. You ain't got no man. And he has to get censured. Everyone they don't go to AOC. They go to Hakeem Jeffries and they go, what the hell are you doing, man? I'm going to be honest with you. Minority leader in the House of Representatives has got to be the worst job. The best job is AOC, who everyone thinks is the leader of the party, but has absolutely zero responsibility for the party. Everybody thinks she's setting the tone for the party. They think that she's the one pushing the agenda. But when it comes down to it, she has nothing to do. She doesn't have to caucus with people. She doesn't have to rally votes. She doesn't have to get up there and what do you call it? Whip. You don't have to whip people into not submission. What's the word I'm looking for? Oh, whip people into a frenzy? No, whip the vote so that they know how they're voting. None of that. And the media doesn't go to her and say, what are you going to say if Donald Trump, that nobody cares what AOC thinks about that. They can cause all the problems and they don't have to worry about cleaning them up. That's Hakeem Jeffries' job. And he's about over it. You can tell. And Kristi Noem, none of these Democrats are any match for Kristi Noem. Not a single one. Kristi Noem was on Capitol Hill today and she was talking to the congressional committee, which has many of these individuals who were at Delaney Hall and who deserve to be arrested sitting on the committee. And she goes, listen, I'm going to answer y'all's questions here. But before I do, I would like to make a statement about what you tried to put, the publicity stunt you tried to pull at Delaney Hall when you busted in and started assaulting my officers.
But first, I would be remiss if I did not address the disturbing actions that we saw last week. There were members of this very committee that took part in an action at Delaney Hall on May 9th that need to be addressed. I served as a member of Congress in this body for 8 years, and I understand the importance of congressional oversight. What happened on May 9th was not oversight. It was a political stunt that put the safety of our law enforcement officers, our agents, our staff, and our detainees at risk. Here are the facts. As a vehicle approached the security gate at Delaney Hall Detention Center, a mob of protesters, including 3 members of Congress, stormed the gate and they trespassed into the detention facility. We have footage of those members of Congress slamming their bodies into our law enforcement officers, shoving them, screaming profanities in their faces, striking them with their fists, and otherwise assaulting law enforcement. The behavior was lawlessness, and it was beneath this body. Members of Congress should not break into detention centers or federal facilities.
I mean, think about it. Listen, this is where we are in this world. This is what it's come to. You've got the Department of Homeland Security Secretary going to Congress and saying, hey, FYI, members of Congress should not break in to federal detention facilities. Like, that's not a given. That's not something we can all agree on.
Had these members requested a tour, we certainly would have facilitated a tour. As a body knows, there are proper protocols and there are procedures that must be abided by. These congressional members and staff visit our facilities all of the time, and these members could follow the policies that have been in place, and they would have been followed. We would have facilitated a tour of this important facility. However, even after these members assaulted our federal law enforcement officers, we still provided them with a tour of that facility.
That's, by the way, that's what it kind of it doesn't anger me, but I'm just like, yo, what? They went in and they busted up the joint. They busted up your ICE agents. And then after all that, you still gave them a tour of the facility. This just proves that President Donald Trump, his administration, his advisors, the people that he put in place, you want to talk about professionalism, that's professionalism. These are people who are above the fray. They come in, they trespass, they start throwing their weight around. They're hooting and hollering and screaming obscenities. Mother, father, this, filth, foul, that. You better not, you're going to find out, you're blah, 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 blah. And then after all that, instead of arresting them, I guess they arrested the mayor of Newark, but instead of throwing them all in the clink, they said, if you guys shut up, take a deep breath and calm down, we'll take your asses on a tour. And I guess, all right, fine. They're better people than I am.
I'm glad that at their press conference following the tour, these members acknowledged that Delaney Hall is in good condition and meets deferral standards. Charges made by these politicians that Delaney does not have the proper permitting is false. We have valid permits and inspections for plumbing and electricity and fire codes that have been cleared. Lastly, I'd like to remind Americans and everyone in this body who is detained in this detention facility are murderers, rapists, known terrorists, MS-13 gang members, drug traffickers, and other heinous actors. I hope that those members of Congress will so passionately protest on behalf of the American victims that they were elected to represent, and not just violent criminals who are in this country illegally.
Boom, hammer dropped, mic dropped. This is Kristi Noem walking right in there, looking up at these people who were just this past weekend were assaulting her Department of Homeland Security officers, her ICE agents, her federal prison guards. They were assaulting, they were trespassing on federal property, which is her responsibility. She walks in, she shows up, and she says, you guys were in the wrong, we were in the right. Not only were you disrespectful and dangerous, but you put everybody's life, you put your own lives in danger, you put my agents' lives in danger, you even put the detainees' lives in danger, and the detainees are the ones that you love. The rapists, the thugs. By the way, let's all remember, these people violated federal trespassing laws. They broke the law, basically. They're criminals. They broke the law so that they could protect illegal murderers, rapists, thugs, gang members, and terrorists who were being detained at this facility. Again, not sure why they love these people so much, but man, they love these people so much. It's really bizarre. You know who really loves illegal, criminal, gang member, terrorist, rapist, thug, murderers? Dan Goldman. Representative Dan Goldman, who this guy, man, when you want to talk about a low life, he's probably lower a life than Adam Schiff is, but he's just not as prominently placed. He just hasn't rubbed that many people the wrong way. He doesn't get the same publicity. I guess he needs a new PR agent or something. But Dan Goldman, you may remember during President Donald Trump's campaign, called for Donald Trump to be eliminated. That was a direct quote. He said, Donald Trump needs to be eliminated. And that was, during the campaign where Donald Trump had at least 2 attempts on his life. a bullet in the ear, a gunman at the golf course. God knows how many other times or opportunities were thwarted by our law enforcement. But Representative Dan Goldberg, I think he's from New York or California, he said Donald Trump needs to be eliminated. Now he's screaming and yelling at Kristi Noem and arguing about these criminal, alien, violent, thug, gang member, rapist, terrorists that he's so enamored with.
Mr. Abrego-Garcia, pursuant to this court order.
It's got to be extremely discouraging to be one of your constituents. To see you fight for a terrorist like this and not fight for them is extremely alarming to me.
I'm fighting for due process, and that's under the Constitution.
The gentleman's
and you
time
should
has
fight too for
expired.
due process.
The gentleman's time has expired. I now recognize Ms. Green for 5 minutes of questioning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Democrat.
Yeah, the 10th District of New York is where Dan Goldman's from. And by the way, my favorite part of that is, did you hear the groans when Kristi Noem said, "Why are you standing up for terror?" That was my favorite part of that whole. Listen again.
Mr. Abrego-Garcia, pursuant to this court order.
It's got to be extremely discouraging to be one of your constituents. To see you fight for a terrorist like this and not fight for them is extreme.
Oh, did you hear that? Oh, she called him a terrorist. Oh, no, he is. He's a member of MS-13. MS-13 is a terrorist organization, and that is, by order of the President of the United States Department of Homeland Security. If you're, you got to call it like you see it. You got to call it like you see it. But Dan Goldman, he loves Abrego-Garcia. All Democrats do. He loves Abrego-Garcia, and Maxwell Frost loves Abrego-Garcia, and Senator Chris Van Hollen loves Abrego-Garcia. Everybody loves Abrego-Garcia except for Mrs. Garcia. Mrs. Garcia went to the cops twice and said, "Yo, no say, I don't want this guy around my house, my kids. He beat me up real bad." And she had to go get a restraining order, not once, but dose restraining orders against Abrego-Garcia. She didn't want him around her. But all these Democrats are fighting to get him back. Chris Van Hollen's flying down there saying, we got to get him back to his wife who he beats. Now you've got Dan Goldman saying this guy is not a terrorist and he deserves a chance to come back to Maryland and harass and attack his wife some more. That's what the Democrats are just in love with these guys. Dan Goldman, that wasn't even it. Dan Goldman lost whatever was left of his mind when Marjorie Taylor Greene started reading from a court decision, or I think it was from Pam Bondi's notes or whatever, about Abrego-Garcia being an MS-13 gang member. And I guess MS-13, calling somebody an MS-13, like if you're a Democrat and somebody calls you an MS-13 gang member, it's like when a woman's called the B word. It's just, if you call Abrego-Garcia or anyone else an MS-13 gang member to Dan Goldman, super Democrat, he reacts the same way any woman does when you call her the B word. And he just could not contain his anger at Marjorie Taylor Greene when she called Abrego-Garcia an MS. Listen, it's crazy.
According to the Attorney General of the United States, she posted that the evidence shows Kilmar Abrego-Garcia has repeatedly been identified as a member of MS-13 by a Maryland County Police Gang unit, which I introduced for the record, a reliable confidential informant, ICE officers, an immigration judge agreed, and an appellate board agreed.
Without
So you have, is that a court order? Well, I object.
No, she can put anything she wants in the record. She's not complying to your request, Mr. Goldman.
She asked for unanimous consent.
Okay, so you're objecting to her putting that into the record?
I am objecting subject to a clarification. Is that a court order that establishes that he's a member of MS-13?
An immigration judge agreed that he was MS-13.
For bail purposes.
An appellate board agreed.
Don't misrepresent.
Hold on.
A judge.
Everybody pause.
Yeah, everybody pause for 1 second. We got to calm down, everybody. What is going on? Dan Goldman's basically he's interrupting the whole proceedings, and he's jumping in front of Marjorie Taylor Greene, and he's arguing. This is what he's arguing. You've got police officers in Maryland of the gang member unit that are saying, hey, you know what? This guy's a member of MS-13. You've got the Department of Justice saying this guy's a gang member, a member of MS-13. You've got tattoos on his hand that say he's a gang member, a member of MS-13. And Dan Goldman's in there going, I'm sorry, there's no such document. No judge has declared him a gang member of MS-13.
We're going to let one person talk at a time. You ask a question. answer the question, please.
According to the Attorney General of the United States, she informed the country that an immigration judge agreed that your Maryland man, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, is MS-13. An appellate board agreed. ICE officers
are misstating
agreed.
what the
And the guy just can't shut up about it. He can't shut up. And Marjorie Taylor Greene has been recognized. He asked her a question. The chairman says, let her answer the question. And now Dan Goldman can't shut up and let her answer the question because he's so hell-bent on proving the innocence of this guy, who, by the way, is never coming back to the United States of America.
The clock is not yours right now. She has the floor. Please continue answering the question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A Maryland County...
She's not answering the question, sir.
No, she's going to answer the question, and then you can object to her answer.
Make sure that she answers the question?
Finish answer. You just said, please finish your answer.
A Maryland County Police gang unit agreed that he's MS-13. A reliable confidential informant agreed that he's MS-13. ICE officers agreed that he's MS-13. An immigration judge agreed that he's MS-13. An appellate board agreed that Kilmar Abrego Garcia, your Maryland man, is MS-13.
Okay. I object. The floor. What do you want to say?
I object because she is misstating the record and the facts. That is not accurate, and therefore I object to that being introduced.
Mr.
Can I explain? You let her go on.
Go ahead.
There is no final court order establishing that he's a member. Maybe he is. So you should put all that evidence before a judge, and if he is MS-13, he should be deported. That's what we're talking about, but you're misstating what all of that evidence is.
No, I think I'm going to make a point here. You basically just read what the Attorney General said, correct?
Yes, sir.
You didn't assert that this was a court order, did you? Did you assert that this was a court order?
I read the Attorney General of the United States.
And you have a right on our committee to submit for unanimous consent or a vote if we want to put it to a vote. This for the record, correct? Is that
Yes.
That is correct. Okay,
Mr. Chairman,
she has a right.
Can I review what she is submitting?
No, she can submit something to this committee.
But it matters that she just said she represented exactly what the Attorney General said. She has a document there. I would like to see that document.
Let's make a copy for everybody, and we'll vote on. I'm going to hold on just a second. We're going to hold. You're calling for the question? We're calling for the question. The clerk, we're going to need to set. Hold on just a second.
All right. Anyway, so and it kind of just goes on from there. So basically, what's happening is, hold on, let me get my camera back. Okay, there we go. So basically, what's happening is Dan Goldman has said to Marjorie Taylor Greene, "I object to you calling him an MS-13 gang member." Asks her a question, and in doing so, gives her even more time to explain why this guy is an MS-13 gang member. Dan Goldman, basically, in objecting to Marjorie Taylor Greene's line of dialogue or monologuing, gave her more time to monologue. He basically gave her more time to prove that this guy's an MS-13 gang member. And she did. And she never said this is a court order. She said, here's what Pam Bondi, the Attorney General of the United States, said. Here's what the Department of Homeland Security says. Here's what police officers say. And Dan Goldman the whole time is objecting because he does what he goes, if we put it before a judge and a judge finds that he's a member of MS-13, then he should be deported. Dude, he's gone. He's gone. Somebody tell Dan Goldman, this guy is already gone. He is out of here like Vladimir. He is not coming back either. He's in CCOT, and CCOT got him for the rest of his days. But even if they let him go, he'll be wandering around El Salvador. He's not coming back to Maryland, no matter how much you object, no matter how much of a scene you make, no matter how many love letters you send the guy. But the Democrats, they're so enamored. They're so enamored with illegal gang members. They don't want them going anywhere. They hate that they're not walking around the streets terrorizing Americans, and I just don't get it. I don't understand it. It's a weird thing to run on. And again, it's probably one of the reasons why Hakeem Jeffries is at his wit's end. Speaking of gang members and criminal aliens and illegals, ICE has just requisitioned Rikers Island from New York City. ICE, Tom Homan, he basically said, I'm taking Rikers Island. We need it. We need the space. So Rikers Island is now a facility that is in ICE control. Federal judge seizes control of Rikers Island from New York City. Let me read this. Let me read this real quick, and then I'm going to play you what Tom Homan said, because listening to Tom Homan just makes me happy. Federal judge seizes control of Rikers Island from New York City. Rikers Island is one of the nation's largest and most famous jails, which houses around 7,000 inmates. A federal judge in New York has taken the extraordinary step of seizing control of the city's troubled Rikers Island jail complex, one of the nation's largest and most famous. Judge Laura Taylor Swain, in a 77-page ruling, ordered the notorious jail and the city's entire jail system be run by an independent officer reporting solely to the court, having found that conditions at the jail remained unconstitutionally dangerous.
Compare us to Europe, but the Europe you are referring to is the WHO.
Hold on, we'll get to Rosa DeLauro in just a minute. The unsafe and dangerous conditions in the jail have become normalized, despite the fact that they are clearly abnormal and unacceptable. She wrote, the order stems from a 2011 case, blah, 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 blah. So here's Tom Homan being asked about it by Laura Ingraham, and here's what he said.
Getting ICE officers back in Rikers is meaningful, because we agree that, the worst of the worst, the firearms violations, the murders, the kidnappers, the rapists, will come to our attention, term release, we can grab them. But I've made it clear, I want everybody. If you're an illegal alien, you get booked in Rikers Island, I don't care if it's for shoplifting, I want them. So this is a start to deal with the worst of the worst in the beginning, but I made it clear that my plan on the whole of them. I want everybody. So we're going to work toward that. We agreed to some other things I'm not going to discuss on national TV, because I don't want the city council to know what I'm doing. City council is fighting the mayor and everything. So let's surprise them on what we're coming to the table with, and let them sue me. Bring it, because I'm done. I'm not running a popularity contest. I came to New York to get meaningful action. We got a lot of words. The last meeting I had, today I came, I want action, I want a plan, and we're leaving with a partial plan, but I'll come back every week if I have to until we finish this plan. But it's a good first step to get back on Rikers Island. That's a game changer.
Laura Ingraham, I don't know if she's just totally enamored with Tom Homan, if she's like, man, this guy is 100% macho, but she had nothing to say. She was just listening to him ramble, go on and on and on with this tough guy talk, and she was into it. But Tom Homan saying, look, I'm not going to tell you what my plan is, because even the city council, every Democrat in the world is anti-illegal immigration, or anti-deportation of illegal alien criminals. Every Democrat, whether it's a senator sitting on the Senate committees, whether it's Chris Van Hollen flying down to El Salvador to drink margaritas with Abrego Garcia, whether it's Maxwell Frost and his merry band of idiots who flew on their own dime to El Salvador, didn't meet with anybody, and then came back looking like idiots, like they had huevos all over their face. Huevos en el cabeza. Wait, cabeza's head. What do you say? ¿Cómo se dice face en español? It's, I don't know. Huevos en el face. We'll just go with that. And whether it's any of these people. And now you've got Dan Goldman from New York, who's arguing with Marjorie Taylor Greene. And now you've got the City Council of New York arguing with Tom Homan about whether or not these illegal criminal thug gang member, rapists, drug dealer, human trafficker, murderers should be here in the United States or back in their home countries in some kind of high security prison. It's really, really bizarre. I just don't get it. I just don't get what's wrong with Congress. I just don't get what's right. You know what it is? We always joke about how Congress is basically they don't do anything. And how many times do I come in here and go, you know what? I need to run for Congress because nobody there does anything. I need to run for Congress because I'm running for Congress because these do-nothing Democrats and these worthless rhino Republicans, this uniparty is just running the joint and nothing gets done. Nothing ever gets done. They argue about proxy voting for pregnant women and they take 3-4 days off. They've got what, five bills? Is that what we heard? In 105 days, only 5 bills have made it to the president's desk for a signature into law. That's a disgrace. They're wasting money, but more importantly, they're wasting time. And they are literally asleep at the wheel. Because last night, not one, this is baffling, this is crazy to me. This is just wild. Not one, but 2 Congress people fell asleep while they were voting on markups for President Donald Trump's great, big, beautiful bill. Not one, but 2. One, you're like, oh my God, that's funny. She fell asleep. Ha ha ha. Let's laugh at her. But it was 2. One man, one woman, one Democrat, one Republican. They fell asleep while they were marking up the bills for the big, beautiful bill, the new budget bill. Now, and I understand the markup system is long. Our good buddy Kat Kamek tweeted that she'd been in there for 8 hours, whatever. As far as I know, though, she was able to stay awake. Maybe she took some no-dos or something. But look at this. This is Representative, what's her name? Debbie Dingell from Michigan. Debbie Dingell fell asleep during the markup and I guess forgot that C-SPAN's got cameras and, oh yeah, a bunch of people have cell phones. Now, I don't know. There she is. Just look at that. And her mouth's right next to the microphone too. Good thing she's not like a mouth breather or has what do you call it, sleep apnea? Because that microphone she was right up on that microphone. Any sound coming out of her mouth, and she would have been found out for sure. Also, I'm pretty sure there's some kind of rule about taking video while you're in these I know that there's a rule about taking video when you're on the House floor. I don't know about when you're in a committee meeting like this, but look, there she is. And she's well hydrated. She's got lots of water. She's got a couple Perriers there. Looks like a Geyser Peak bottled water. What she needed was a Red Bull. She's drinking Debbie Dingell's drinking water and Perrier. She needs a Red Bull. She needs like a Celsius or 5 because she fell right asleep in front of God and everybody. And it's bright. Look at that. It's bright there. It's not like a dark room. There's a lot of lights. There's a lot of talking, but she's just like, I've had it. She just drifted off to dreamland. But like I said, she wasn't the only one. She wasn't the only one. By the way, you want to know the best part of this, by the way? I have to share it. This is my favorite part. This is a committee meeting. You know what committee it is? You're never going to guess. You want me to tell you? Okay, I'm going to tell you. It's the Energy Committee. Debbie Dingell fell asleep during a meeting of the Energy Committee. She's a member of the Energy Committee, and she has zero energy. I just thought that was too good to be true. I thought that was, energy. The Energy Committee. They're falling asleep during the Energy Committee. Clearly, she's not fit to serve on that committee. Get her out of there. We need somebody with energy. We need somebody with vim and vigor. We need somebody who can stay up past midnight doing important work. Like, planning the financial future of the United States of America, the largest superpower in the world. What are we doing, Debbie? We're trying to get a record-breaking budget with amazing tax cuts for most Americans in under the wire. Boring stuff. I'm just going to doze off. Just wake me if anything exciting happens. But like I said, that wasn't it. Let's go to the Ways and Means Committee, shall we? Ways and Means, where Blake Moore, who is a representative from Utah, Republican, fell asleep during a vote. And he only woke up because they called his name. He did not answer because he was in dreamland. He was snoozing. And whoever was next to him had to tap him on the shoulder and say, dude, psst, wake up. They're calling your name. You got to vote. And he woke right up. He goes, no. And so I don't even know if he wanted to vote no or if he was having a bad dream or something. But listen.
Kustoff. Mr. Kustoff, no. Mr. Fitzpatrick. Mr. Fitzpatrick, no. Mr. Stubbe. Mr. Stubbe, no. Miss Tinney. Miss Tinney, no. Mrs. Fishbach. Mrs. Fishbach, no. Mr. Moore. Mr. Moore.
I mean, come on. Now, this is the House Ways and Means Committee. This is Blake Moore. He's from somewhere in Utah, I think near Ogden, and he's passed out. Now, again, it's like 4 o'clock in the morning, maybe 4:30 in the morning. They've been at this a long time. They've been marking this bill up and down. But he's out like a light. He's out, and then they wake him up. Debbie Fishbach's like, dude, wake up.
Mr. Moore, no.
Yeah. And he wakes up, he's laughing. At least he's in a good mood. He's clearly like a morning person.
Miss Van Dyne.
Yeah. Now here's the thing. You'll notice, by the way, let's go back to the beginning. You'll notice how all these chairs are empty. Fitzpatrick, Stubbe, Greg Stubbe's up walking around, Miss Tinney. They're voting. They just knew. They were like, we're tired. We're going to get up and we're going to walk around. You don't have to be in your chair to vote. You have to be in the room. So they're like, we're going to get up and we're going to walk around. We're going to keep the blood flowing. Here's Debbie Fishbach. and she's just like, she's chilling in her chair. And then here's Blake Moore. He's just passed out to the world, wakes up and votes no.
Mr. Moore.
This is my favorite. Blake, wake up. Oh, sorry. And look, he's got his like man bag on or something like that.
Mr. Moore, no.
Yeah, well, you know what they need? You know what Congress needs? I don't know what they're called, but there are those things that like you wear when you're driving on your neck. Like truck drivers wear them and stuff on their neck, and it's like a dog shock collar, but if you fall asleep or if you drift into the lane or something like that, if your head nods back, it shocks you awake. We need to get some of those. We need to get some of those for Congress so that, you know, they don't fall asleep on the job. And again, I'll give Blake Moore a little bit of leeway because yes, it was 4 o'clock in the morning and yes, they were all up late at night. But the one thing about Representative Dan Moore that's different, Blake Moore, the one thing that's different about Blake Moore than anyone else is that he's a Mormon. And if you know something about Mormons, they don't drink coffee. So I don't think they drink caffeine at all. So I'll give them a little bit of leeway. I could never be a Mormon for that specific reason. Like I know they don't drink alcohol. I could probably, all right, fine. I could get away with not drinking alcohol, but coffee, ain't no way. I mean, I love Jesus and all that too, but I'm not, anyway, that's one of the reasons why. It's one of the reasons why maybe he drifted off, but that's what's going. Congress is nutty. These Congress people are crazy. They're crazy and they're wild and they're reckless and they're dangerous. And thank God we've got people like Donald Trump's administration to go in there and set them straight. Thank God we've got people like Kristi Noem to say, Dan Goldman, shame on you. What's it like to be one of your constituents knowing that you fight harder for illegal thug gang member murderers than you do for them? What's that like? Thank God we've got people like RFK Jr. who goes in there and fights against these Democrats who are saying that saving your children is a bad idea. Rosa DeLauro, who's from, God, is she from Connecticut? I want to say Connecticut. She's the purple-haired, the one-eyed, one-horned flying purple people eater. She looks like she's 107 and she's wearing like a clown wig. She has, I walked by her office. It's like, I don't know if you remember Spencer's Gifts from the 80s. But if you walk by Rosa DeLauro's office, it reminds me of Spencer's Gifts. There's fuzzy dice hanging from the ceiling. There's multiple lava lamps. It's the weirdest thing in the world. But Rosa DeLauro is going after RFK Jr. about the measles. And RFK Jr. is like, I'm sorry, ma'am. I'm sorry, crazy purple-headed lady. You're wrong about pretty much everything you just said.
With the measles issue, Mr. Secretary, you keep comparing the U.S. to other countries. You compare us to Europe, but the Europe you are referring to is the WHO European region. That's 53 countries in Europe and in Asia, including those with low vaccination rates like Romania that has never eliminated measles. If you compare us to Western Europe countries that we often compare ourselves to, like Great Britain, they have seen no measles death this year. Let me move to the NIH. In your testimony, you say you want to quote, and I quote, rescale our biomedical research budget, unquote. Excuse me, but that's BS. You are not rescaling NIH research. You are proposing to cut it by $20 billion. And according to our colleagues in the Senate, NIH has effectively cut research funding by $2.7 billion this year in comparison to the same period last year. That's a cut of 35% during that period. That includes cutting cancer research by 31%. This is the report put out by the Senate, Trump's War on Science, which goes into detail about how we are, in fact, dealing with cutting scientific research. Mr. Secretary, are you freezing or withholding funding that Congress appropriated in 2025 for life-saving NIH research?
Let me address your first issue first, because I want to correct you. We have about 1,100 measles cases in this country. The growth rate last year was 15 additional, so we have plateaued. Mexico has roughly the same number with a third of our population, and they got 300 extra cases last week. Canada has more measles, 1,500. They have 1/8 of our population. Western Europe has about 6,000, which is 10 times the number that we have.
Well,
you are wrong about what you said earlier.
We can discuss that, but I think one has to consider whether or not we're dealing with decades of data proving how effective and safe the measles vaccine is. I want to move to that. I want my questions answered on, are you freezing and withholding funding that Congress appropriated in 2025 for life-saving NIH research?
We are not withholding any funding for life-saving research.
Okay. Do you commit to following the law?
Of
and
course.
Fully obligating funding that Congress appropriated. We appropriated, it is the law of the land for NIH research, and to obligate those funds by September 30th of this year? Or are you planning to break the law by impounding congressionally appropriated funds?
If you appropriate me the funds, I'm going to spend them.
We have in the bill. You are cutting the NIH by $18 billion, or you're proposing to cut it by $20 billion. The Congress appropriated those funds. It passed into law. It's part of the 2024 budget, and we are under a continuing resolution that has adopted the 2024 numbers. How then can you justify cutting $20 billion from the biomedical research budget?
If you appropriate the money to me, I'm going to spend that money.
We have appropriated, Mr.
Right,
Secretary.
then I'm going to spend it.
Then you're going to spend it. You're not going to cut $20 billion from the NIH.
The White House proposal is to do very, very large cuts at NIH.
Well, that is contrary to the money appropriated.
Ranking member.
Yes.
If Congress appropriates me the money, I'm going to spend the money. You have the power of the purse here.
Thank
sure
you.
You know that.
Thank you for reiterating that, but I think that I'm not sure the administration really has internalized that, particularly Mr. Vogt hasn't internalized that when he says that we can in fact, impound money. The money is there. The 2024 budget includes the funding for the NIH. Will you commit to spending the money that is in 2024 in that budget?
As I said, ranking member, if you appropriate the money, I'm going to spend that money.
The money has been appropriated. So the answer to that is if you're not willing to accept the funds that have been lawfully voted by members of the House and Senate on the money for the National Institutes of Health. We're going to hold you to your word that that funding is there. It should be transferred from 24 to 25, and you've cut already $20 billion. Let's get that money back. Let's get that money back. You have an obligation to carry out the law and to implement what the Congress has done.
Okay, there's a back and forth. There's like 3-4 more minutes of this too. There's another moment where RFK Jr. just literally just erupts at her. But this is, hold on, let me play this real quick. Sorry, I know that went long, but
allow me to answer that by pointing out the absolute cataclysmic disorganization of this agency under your oversight for 40 years. We had 9 separate offices of women's health. When we consolidate them, the Democrats say we're eliminating them. We're not. We're still appropriating the $3.7 billion, but we're not keeping all 9. We had 8 separate offices for minority health. We eliminated 1. We had 20 HIV offices.
Okay, let me just, I'm going to
We had 59 behavioral health programs.
I'm well over time. If you could just get us what has been eliminated, why you're doing it, and the criteria by which the elimination has occurred.
Okay, this is, and I like I said, this could go on forever. But that's Congresswoman Rosa DeLauro yelling and screaming at at RFK Jr., the Secretary of Health and Human Services, about saving the government money. She's saying, you've cut all this money for vital research. And he goes, look, if you gave me the money, I'm going to spend it. What the president's doing, what DOJ is doing, is they're saying we need to eliminate the redundancy. It has nothing to do with spending the money that you've already allocated. It's about where we're going to spend it. And he's saying, you gave me the money, I'm going to spend it. But we're at the same time going to cut out wasteful spending. And we don't need 9 offices for women's health. You probably only need like 1 or 2. You don't need 59 offices for behavioral health. You can mitigate some of that and combine some of them into 1. He'll take the money, he'll spend it, but he wants to spend it where he wants to spend it. She wants him to spend it on ridiculous stuff, like studying the effects of hair dye on women over the age of 80. That's what she wants studies for. And he's like, I'm not doing that. That's a waste of everybody's time. You give me the money, I'll spend it, but you're not going to tell me where I'm going to spend it. We're going to cut. And the money that we have, we're going to spend on all these programs that I deem worthwhile, like measles vaccines, like food dye, like things that are causing autism in our children, and how to make sure that our children are healthier moving forward. And I don't know why you're upset by that. I don't know why you're upset. You know what? If you open up an office of health research for illegal, criminal, gang member, terrorist, thug, child trafficker, human trafficker, drug dealing, thug, gang member criminals, they'd probably be fine with it, and they'd probably allocate them more money. But that's not what they do. There's something else that's really there's so much, but like I said, there's so much going on today. I don't even know. I feel like I should take a breath. I feel like from the get-go, from the moment we started today's podcast, I feel like we've just been going. Did I even tell you guys to subscribe? Did I remind you yet? If you're listening for the very first time, if you're watching us on YouTube or Rumble or X or Facebook, wherever you are, just do me a solid, do yourself a favor. If you're enjoying this and if you're learning something, and if you feel like your eyes have been opened, or if you feel like this has been a decent experience for you, do yourself a favor and hit subscribe, because like I said, we do this all the time, day. Monday through Friday, day we're here, and we're bringing you all the hits, man. We're telling you everything that's going on. We're telling you everyone who's attacking you, how they're attacking you, what they're saying about you, how they're coming after you, how they're trying to undo what you want done in this country, which is President Donald Trump being the president and America being great again. They're trying to steal your tax dollars. They're trying to keep you unsafe. They're trying to give your money to illegal immigrants, and they don't care what you think. They only care about themselves and their power and getting more money and power for themselves. And they'll do everything they can to try to twist and turn and propagandize and hide the truth behind a web of lies. And man, they are some web spinning liars. They spin webs like you wouldn't even, like that Charlotte from Charlotte's Web with the some pig. They're pretty talented at it. And so that's why we're here. And if you're listening to the podcast, by all means, thank you for finding this podcast. Thank you for listening to this podcast. Do yourself a favor, hit subscribe. Let them know every single day. I'm in here every single day. Every single day I walk into Kayetriot HQ right here in Mar-a-Lago in beautiful downtown Jacksonville, Florida. And I fire up the old camera and I fire up the microphone and I start screaming and yelling for at least an hour, sometimes longer, depends on what's going on in the world. And if you want that every single day, tell that platform you're listening to that you want it every single day, and we'll give it to you. Let's talk a little bit about Jake Tapper. Speaking of propaganda and fake news, speaking about lying liars who lie and get paid really well for it, Jake Tapper he's just the worst kind of human there is. Jake Tapper for years made a living and built up his legacy on CNN by attacking Republicans. He built up his legacy. He made his money on CNN. He became the face of the entire network. It used to be Anderson Cooper, but I would argue that Jake Tapper is now probably the most famous of all CNN reporters. He's the guy that claims he's not a Democrat. Remember, Brooke Rollins laughed in his face. Well, Jake Tapper has a brand new book out. We've talked about it. It's coming. I pre-ordered it because I gotta read this thing. I'm really excited about it. But Jake Tapper, he has this new book out. It's called Original Sin: President Biden's Decline, Its Cover-Up, and His Disastrous Choice to Run Again. And what happens is when you have a book out, you got to go on a book tour. And when you go on a book tour, people ask you about the book. And then you've also got to release like chapters and synopses and passages from the book so that, there's got to be the book reviewers have to read the whole gosh darn thing. So stuff starts to leak out. And now we're learning about all the cover-ups that we've seen with Joe Biden. We're learning about all the cover-ups that Joe Biden had with his health. We're learning that people wanted him in a wheelchair. We're learning that Kamala Harris's whole team hated him because they said that they basically at advisor reels how Biden totally effed Kamala Harris's 2024 election chances. Former President Joe Biden totally effed Vice President Kamala Harris. David Plouffe, a key advisor for the Harris campaign, blamed then Veep's election loss squarely on the then commander-in-chief, according to the forthcoming book, Original Sin by Alex Thompson and Jake Tapper. Plouffe, a senior advisor in Barack Obama's White House, was quoted describing Harris's 170-day campaign sprint against former and future President Donald Trump as a effing nightmare, according to an excerpt first published by The Guardian. And it's all Biden, he told the authors. He totally effed us. Plouffe said he flagged concerns about Biden's mental and physical ability after receiving a flurry of calls from worried donors in the wake of the incumbent's catastrophic June 27, 2024 debate performance against Trump. However, Plouffe claimed he was repeatedly informed Biden could win a second term. In the aftermath of Harris's loss, Plouffe was not immune from finger-pointing among Democratic insiders. One source close to the Harris campaign told the Post in the aftermath of the election that Plouffe and other Obama alum Stephanie Cutter had misjudged what issues were most important to voters. So they're lying, and they're saying the reason Kamala Harris lost was because we misjudged what issues were important to voters. Well, that's part of it. But really the reason they claim is that Joe Biden stayed around too long. Well, get this. This is... who is this? This is somebody from Fox News. Oh, Lisa, what's her name? Booth, is that her name? And listen to her take on all this. She said Kamala Harris was not effed by Joe Biden. Joe Biden did her a favor staying in the race.
The David Plouffe comment that Joe Biden effed them by not dropping out earlier. He did not. He did you a favor. The more people saw from Kamala Harris, the less they liked. That 107-day sprint was to her benefit and to the Democrats' benefit. He didn't F them by not dropping out earlier. He F'd them by picking Kamala Harris to be his VP because the party of DEI, they were never going to get rid of the first female, the first black vice president. She was always going to be yours. So he actually did you a favor. Also, think about how bad of a candidate you have to have been in politics for almost 2 decades and to take 37 days to do your first sit-down interview and for it only to be 18 minutes and to have Tim Walz by your side because you're so bad you can't do it alone. Or to take something like 50 days to put up a policy section on your website. You've been in the game almost 2 decades. You should know what you believe. So I would just, quickly say that Joe Biden did them a favor by not dropping out earlier.
Look at that. Joe Biden did her a favor by only giving her 117 days to mess herself up. 107 days. If it had been any longer, she would have been even worse off. Donald Trump would have won more states. He would have won probably 400 electoral votes. That's what would have happened if she had any longer to dig herself deeper and deeper into a political hole. She was a bad candidate. She had no message. She had no agenda. She had Tim Walz. It was horrible. For Joe Biden staying in the race as long as he did helped Kamala Harris. And maybe, just maybe, she can be, governor of California or something like that. But Jake Tapper is the big loser in this situation, even bigger than Joe Biden. Because everybody knew that Joe Biden was mentally incompetent. Everybody knew that Joe Biden was on the decline. Everybody knew that Joe Biden was not able, physically or mentally, to sustain a campaign, debate President Donald Trump, or God forbid, be president for 4 more years. We don't even think he was capable of being president for the 4 years he was president, and a lot of us are pretty sure that he wasn't. The auto pen was managed by Susan Rice or Jake Sullivan or whomever was in charge. The Obamas sitting in their basement with the little transponder that they were sending to, you know the thing. And so this book, Jake Tapper, this guy's getting reamed in the press for being an opportunist. When Joe Biden was president and Donald Trump was running, Jake Tapper did his best to tell everyone Joe Biden was amazing. And if you insulted Joe Biden or if you talked about his cognitive decline, then you were berated by Jake Tapper. Laura Trump knows that better than anyone else. And now that everybody knows that Joe Biden's cognitively declined, now that everybody knows that Joe Biden is not fit for office, now that everybody knows just how bad it was, and Donald Trump is back, Jake Tapper is making moolah. He's reversing course entirely, pulling a 180 and saying, wow, we were duped. This guy was in horrible condition. And listen, this is a montage of all the things that Jake Tapper said about Joe Biden in his defense during the campaign.
How do you think it makes little kids with stutters feel when they see you make a comment like that?
It's very clearly a cognitive decline.
Okay.
That's what I'm referring to. It makes me uncomfortable.
You have I can't. That's so amazing. It's so amazing to me that
try and figure out an answer.
A cognitive decline. President Biden embraces his stutter, talking about it, while Trump mocks it, exaggerates it, belittles it. He's sharp physically. I mean, mentally. Yeah. I think the question is physically, right?
Right.
More so?
Right.
Right. And the guy who's his chief opponent is only 3 or 4 years younger than him.
Exactly.
I mean, you have questioned President Biden's age, mental fitness, ability to lead. Of those supporting Biden, you said, quote, shame on all of you pretending everything is okay. You're leading us and him into a disaster. Do you worry that you damaged him at all?
By the way, he's talking to Dean Phillips, who Dean Phillips ran against Joe Biden. Dean Phillips is the one that tried to primary Joe Biden and said, look, this guy is not fit for office. This guy is not suitable to be president. We all know it. Nobody's saying it. And Jake Tapper brings Dean Phillips on and just berates him for telling the truth.
I don't doubt that you got hugs and handshakes behind closed doors today, and maybe even publicly, some of them because they like you personally. But I've heard a lot of really nasty stuff about you from your Democratic colleagues. Sure. I mean, just like, what is he thinking? Exercise in narcissism. I mean, false claims to the Wall Street Journal about President Biden's mental fitness and acuity. He's 81. And his memory, you know, it doesn't seem great. It's not horrible, but I don't understand the outrage. Quote, behind closed doors, Biden shows signs of slipping, unquote. The Wall Street Journal is owned by News Corp, which is run by the Murdochs. Beyond the headline, there is some critical nuance here. The article is mostly based on observations of Republicans, with former Speaker Kevin McCarthy the only one going on the record. They do note in the article that most of the criticism comes from Republicans. Have you heard any concerns from anyone who has met with President Biden about him seeming a little slower?
No.
The Russians are trying to make us and the public not trust our election integrity. Joe Biden has dementia, all this stuff.
And that's Jake Tapper defending Joe Biden repeatedly throughout the campaign, and now selling a book, which I think it's a #1 bestseller already. Look at it. It's a #1 bestseller already. And he's cashing in on the exact lie that he told over and over again for years. He wanted you to think that Joe Biden was fine. He wanted you to think that the Democrats had their man. He wanted you to think that the Republicans were making up a lie, that this narrative of Joe Biden being unfit for office was just the Republicans trying to play politics. And it was not true. And now he's written an entire book about it. It's a #1 bestseller. Jake Tapper, I mean, really, you talk about a horrible human being. I mean, I don't want to get personal, but God, just a horrible person that guy is. Just god awful. Just, ugh. I mean, he's not even trying to hide it. Like, there are people that are two-faced and stab you in the back and change their tune and try to cash in on both sides of the aisle, but they hide it well. Jake Tapper, I don't even know how CNN, I mean, even this kind of ridiculous flip-flopping simply to make a buck, someone at CNN would have to be like, okay, now that just crosses the line. But nope, they love him. In fact, here they are. Here's CNN interviewing Jake Tapper from CNN and helping him sell even more books.
The David Plouffe comment.
Sorry, here it
that
is.
Joe Biden.
I'm just curious as to whether or not this kind of trying to hide what was happening with the president at the time had an impact on the press corps. Like, why didn't we hear some of these details from what they actually saw and were dealing with trying to get information?
Well, Alex Thompson and I were on the case, as were lots of other reporters, trying to figure out what was going on behind the scenes. But the bottom line is the White House was lying, not only to the press, not only to the public, but they were lying to members of their own cabinet. They were lying to White House staffers. They were lying to Democratic members of Congress, to donors about how bad things had gotten. And in fact, Alex and I started writing this book after the election of 2024. And we spoke with more than 200 people, almost all of whom were Democrats, and almost all of whom wouldn't be honest with us or wouldn't be candid with us until after the election. And then after the election, we found out all of these things that when you looked at what was going on with President Biden at the time, it probably doesn't surprise you the extent to which he was deteriorating. But now we have anecdotes and facts about what was really going on behind the scenes with details that Democrats wouldn't share with us until after Election Day.
Oh, so the White House lied to him and he just took it. That's some kind of investigative reporting. Joe Biden trips over a sandbag at the Air Force commencement and busts his butt, gets lost on stage, shakes hands with ghosts, tries to call out a dead Congresswoman on stage. This is a guy who wanders off into the wilderness in Italy, and the Prime Minister of Italy has to go and find him and bring him back. This is a guy who we think may have pooped his pants at the Vatican. We're not really sure. Couldn't even walk up a flight of stairs on Air Force One. They had to bring in the small stairs. They had to put him on a baggage. They had to like put him up in the crew. He had to go through the crew tunnel because he couldn't get up the main stairs without falling multiple times. This is a guy who called people by the wrong name, if he remembered their names at all. This is a guy who would start yelling uncontrollably the way, senile people do. This is a guy who napped constantly. This is a guy who took days off and sat on a beach. I mean, this was not a guy in control of the country or of his faculties. Yet Jake Tapper said, well, the White House lied to us. Did your eyes? Did your ears? Did your brain? Did your common decency lie to you too? No. The White House lied to you and told you to go report it, and you did. The White House lied to you, and you lied to the American people. And now that you realize there's no money in covering up for Joe Biden anymore, the money's in net. You know what it was? That there used to be good money in covering up for Joe Biden during the campaign. Now that the campaign's over, now that the cat's out of the bag, the money is in exposing Joe Biden during the campaign, exposing the White House. We used to protect the White House. Now we expose the White House because that's where the cash is. And God forbid the Democrats ever come back to power. I hope they remember Jake Tapper, backstabber extraordinaire, who was your friend when you were in charge, but as soon as you lost bigly, he literally wrote the book about the scam that you pulled on the American people. Not really. I mean, most of us knew it was the scam that you pulled, I guess, on I guess what he's saying is they were dumb. Basically, this book is Jake Tapper saying, you know what? We were idiots in the media. Most of the American people could see this, but we in the media were dumb, or we were just lying, especially at CNN. Oh, speaking of dumb people at CNN, Anderson Cooper was trying to report on a story about Trump's meme coin. And you know how, I don't know if you know this, but if you're on X, whenever they talk about a meme coin, they use the $sign. It's like the hashtag. You'd hashtag this, or the @ sign if you want to mention somebody. Like if you want to go on X and write @MarkK Show would be an amazing congressman for Florida's 5th district. You should vote for him. Then it would pop up and I would see that you mentioned me. It's called a mention. Well, with meme coins, it's totally different. What you use is the $sign. So what's his name? Anderson Cooper is doing a story about the Trump meme coin, and they show a tweet or an image up on I guess it's from X. It's a post on X. They put it up on the screen, and there's a $sign in front of the Trump. So instead of Trump, he reads it Strump.
According to a new report in the New York Times, there's a new connection to the president's cryptocurrency plans. Here's the headline: tiny company with China ties announces big purchase of Trump cryptocurrency. It's a fascinating story. The Times reports that, quote, the firm, which produces content for TikTok, recorded no revenue last year, but it announced this week that a mysterious stock sale would allow it to invest heavily in the Trump meme coin.
Wait, what is that? What is that they're investing in?
The Trump meme coin.
Oh, the Strump. Listen, and I don't know a lot about meme coins, but I do know that if Strump isn't a meme coin yet, it will be. It will be by the time this broadcast is over.
Trump meme coin.
I mean, you're a CNN, you're a network news reporter. You don't know how to pronounce Trump coin. You don't know that they use. You don't know the Strump coin. I don't even know. I don't even know what to do. Look, there's Trump's in Doha, and Seinfeld's getting harassed. What do you want to hear next? Do you want to hear about Trump in Doha making more money for the United States of America, talking about camels? All right, let's talk about Trump. First, Jerry Seinfeld got yelled at by pro-Palestinian supporters, anti-Jewish people, and it was priceless. But let's talk about Trump and the camel. Donald Trump was in Doha. He landed in Qatar, the place where they're giving him the plane. And when he went to Qatar and he met with the emir, I think it's an emir, I don't know. He talked about how great the marble was and how great the camels were.
The job you've done is second to none. You look at this, it's so beautiful. As a construction person, I'm seeing perfect marble. This is what they call perfecto. And just a great job you've done, and what a beautiful place. And we appreciate those camels. I haven't seen camels like that in a long time. And that was some greeting. We appreciate it very much.
We appreciate the camels. Hey, thanks for the camels, Qatar. Oh, yeah, thanks for the jumbo jet that's worth $500 million. And also thanks for the camels. Those are some fine-looking camels. But he's in Doha. He's continuing his tour of the Middle East, Saudi Arabia, Qatar. He's headed to the United Arab Emirates. He did tease a potential trip to Istanbul to put an end to the war in Ukraine and Russia. But right now he's in Doha. And in Doha, a lot of stuff, he's not just talking about camels and admiring the marble. He's out there getting stuff done. You know what he's doing? They're talking about how the Emir of Qatar is gifting to the United States of America, to the Department of Defense, a massive flying fortress, a palace in the sky, a state-of-the-art airplane that Donald Trump is more than happy to accept. They're talking about donating that to the Defense Department. Everybody's up in arms about it. And in the meantime, they're buying like $1 billion worth of jets from Boeing.
Now we will see the signing of the agreement of buying aircraft from Boeing. His Excellency Badr bin Abdul Emir will sign from the Qatari side, and Kelly Ortberg will be signing on behalf of Boeing.
Between the State of Qatar and the United States of America. Boeing purchase agreement signed on behalf of the State of Qatar by His Excellency Badr Mohammed Al-Mir, CEO of Qatar Airways Company, and behalf of the United States, Kelly Ortberg, President and CEO of the Boeing Company.
Yeah. And so what they're doing here is they're signing basically the contract live on whatever feed this is. The president of Boeing, it's 160 Boeing jets. It's $200 billion. $200 billion worth of jets they just signed for. That was President Donald Trump bringing the president of Boeing to Qatar, getting the Qataris to the table. They signed the agreement, and boom, just like that, the United States of America has even more money, $200 billion. Now, the irony is, think about how awkward this is. President Donald Trump literally just days ago was bashing this guy's company. He was talking about how slow this guy's company was, how ridiculous they were, how much of a delay they had in these jets he'd paid for, how they were wasting time and money, and he didn't know what was wrong with Boeing. And now the guy's getting a contract for $200 billion to build 160 new jets from Qatar. And all of that is thanks to President Donald Trump. The reason why President Donald Trump wants the jet from Qatar is because he's not getting it from Boeing for several more years. And now he's delivering Boeing and the United States of America even more money. But that's not all. There's even more.
It is my honor to announce the signing of a joint declaration of cooperation between the State of Qatar and the United States of America. Signed on behalf of the State of Qatar by His Highness Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, Emir of the State of Qatar, and the Honorable Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America.
And there they are. They're signing a declaration of, of mutual cooperation, which I don't know what a declaration of mutual cooperation does or a declaration of cooperation does, but it's cool. It's got like a nice ring to it. It seems like it means we're going to cooperate with each other. And that's important because look, Donald Trump is trying to bring peace to the Middle East by making sure that they're rich, right? Here's the thing. Donald Trump's thought process is it's been linear. Like he's not a complex person. He understands that if there's money involved, if there's money to be made or money to be lost, that the fighting will stop. Donald Trump understands that if you tell somebody, we will invest in your country, we will allow your country to invest in us, we will do business together, we will let you buy jets, whatever it is, whatever deal they can make. We'll give you Gaza, you can start building casinos there, whatever it is. Donald Trump knows that if somebody is invested, they're going to protect that investment, and they're not going to let it get bombed by terrorists. If Qatar and the UAE and Saudi Arabia and all these countries come into Gaza, for example, or any other place where Lebanon, they're trying to rebuild Beirut. If they invest in these countries, they're not going to let these countries get bombed. They're not going to allow. This is a move to choke off Iran. Because Saudi Arabia and Qatar and the UAE and Lebanon, they're all going to put pressure on Iran because Donald Trump is bringing them money. And they talk about, Donald Trump wants to build a Trump Tower in Syria. He wants to build one in Doha. He wants to build Trump Towers everywhere. Guess what? The United States of America, if there's investment in those countries, are going to protect those countries and vice versa. That's why the Ukraine deal was so important to Ukraine. It gives us rare earth minerals and it gives them protection because if we're sending Americans over there to dig up rare earth minerals, we're not going to let anybody bomb them. And if they do, there will be hell to pay. It's the next best thing to joining NATO, which the Ukrainians are never going to do. Donald Trump is buying peace. He's saying you can have prosperity. You can have more wealth than you know what to do with. You could have more money and more power and all of these great things than you've ever thought of, that you've ever dreamt of. We will bring you investment deals. We'll give you the land. We'll give you Gaza. We'll bring the people. That's all they want. You build the place and we will bring the people. We'll bring Americans and Europeans. We'll bring the Chinese. We'll bring Japanese. We'll bring people from the Philippines and Thailand. We'll bring Indians. We'll bring everybody. We'll bring them from all over the world to Gaza. All you got to do is invest billions of dollars to build it. All you've got to do is rebuild Lebanon. Make Beirut great again. That doesn't work really well in the hat. All you've got to do is make Lebanon great again, and we will bring you the people, and they will bring the money, and you'll all be wealthy beyond your wildest dreams. But you've got to make it peaceful. You've got to keep the peace. You've got to get rid of ISIS-K. You've got to stop funding Hamas and Hezbollah. You got to tell these Houthis to sit down and shut up, and you have to stop bombing each other. There can be no more of that. And Donald Trump knows money is a powerful motivator. So if he promises them wealth beyond their wildest dreams, prosperity, then they will make peace. Peace with prosperity. You get the prosperity. We'll bring you the prosperity. We'll all be prosperous and rich and all that kind of stuff. But you got to be peaceful. And if you're peaceful, oh man, it's going to be the most prosperous. It's going to be the most amazing golden age ever, not just here, but around the world. And you want to talk about a Nobel Peace Prize. If President Donald Trump doesn't win a Nobel Peace Prize after this trip to the Middle East, then we know that the thing is rigged, which we know anyway. Before I leave you, I want to leave you with Jerry Seinfeld getting harassed and laughing in the face of pro-Hamas Palestinian protesters.
You, Jerry Seinfeld, free Palestine! You support the genocide of babies in Gaza! Free Only Palestine! You! Free Palestine!
Sorry, what he said was, what they said was, F you, Jerry Seinfeld. You support the genocide of babies in Gaza. And he looked at her, laughed his big Jerry Seinfeld laugh and said, only you.
You, Jerry Seinfeld, free Palestine. You support the genocide of babies in Gaza. Free only Palestine. You. Free Palestine. You, Jerry Seinfeld, you support the genocide of Palestinians.
Yay, fist in the air.
You rabid f***ing dog! Free Palestine!
That is... F you, Jerry Seinfeld. You support the genocide of babies in Gaza. Only you! That was something I didn't know that I needed, but something that I'll cherish for the rest of my days. Listen, don't forget to subscribe to this channel because, man, we do this a lot. We do it a lot. And we post videos and shorts and there's all kinds of stuff coming up. We've got podcasts galore. We've got podcasts every single day. Oh, I started a new channel, by the way. I should probably mention this. I don't know if the moderators can post this in the link. I forgot to put in the link, but I started a new channel. I've been doing for quite some time, sharing my secrets as a conservative talk show host and conservative influencer, one might say. It's very different and difficult for conservatives to thrive on all of these different platforms, which are owned by lunatic liberals from Silicon Valley, but we've done it. And we've not only been able to weather the storm of being canceled by mainstream media, but we've also been able to build a pretty strong and powerful platform of our own on social media. And so I created a brand new channel called Mark Kaye Marketing. And it's specifically designed for any and all. It's free. It's just a YouTube channel. You can go and watch videos. And what I'm going to do with that channel is I'm going to use this new channel, Mark Kaye Marketing. And I'm going to use this channel and I'm going to basically just create this channel using all the tools and tricks and tips that I teach other people that want to create YouTube channels. So you can watch along and you can use it to become an influencer or a marketer or promote yourself and your products and your offers and your businesses the way you want to do. So if you're interested, and I'm separating it because some people were interested, some people weren't. So if that's something that interests you, you can there's a link on YouTube, or you can, like I said, you can just search Mark Kaye Marketing on YouTube and follow my, there's one video so far. There's one video. We're going to get more. And I would love for you to follow us there. That's going to be really exciting. In the meantime, look, make sure you subscribe to this channel because, like I said, we do this all the time. It's what's in our blood. This is what I live for. I wake up every single day and I live for this. And I'm so glad that you're here because if you weren't, then I would die. I'm just kidding. But I'd probably be, it wouldn't be as much fun if it were just me. I would still do it. If nobody were here, I would still come in here every single day, fire up the camera, fire up the microphone, and yell and scream about the people that are attacking us. It wouldn't be as much fun, but I would still do it. Also, quick shout out to a couple of people. We have to give a shout out to, look at this. Catman 20716 PC, $10 Rumble rant off of Rumble says, arrest all of the Democrats. Now that is a message. That's a message I could get behind. For sure. I also want to say thank you so much because we got a super chat from Edna Kruger, and Edna Kruger sent us $2 and no message, but we appreciate the support, Edna Kruger. You can send us super chats and Rumble rants at any time, by the way. You don't just have to wait until during the show. We'll accept. Why am I fuzzy now? Oh no, I took myself out of focus. Oh well, I guess that, hold on, maybe if I hit this button, there we go. Now I'm back. Now I'm back in focus. Listen, we're, like I said, we're going to be doing this every single day, and I want you to join us, and I want you to enjoy what we're doing, and I want you to learn from it and be inspired by it and enlightened by it. And most importantly, I want you to be informed of where the dangers are, who the dangers are, and how we can all fight together to stop them. We're going to have to continue. This is an ongoing battle that rages. It's not a one and done thing. It wasn't just like 2024, we win, let's party. No, it was like 2024, we win, let's party. Okay, let's sober up and get back to work because the fight continues. The crazies are getting crazier and they're getting more dangerous and they're breaking into federal prisons and they're attacking federal officers and they're yelling and screaming and threatening us and saying, you're going to find out, you're going to find out, you're going to find out. We're not going to find out because we're going to continue to fight. We're going to continue to win, and we will continue to save the Republic.
You, Jerry Seinfeld, free Palestine. You support the genocide of babies in Gaza. Free
Only
Palestine.
you.
Free